Here we go, we're back with another top budget card video. We're mixing up the structure a little bit this week. So before we used to do 5 cards, now we're doing 10. And before we used to look for value over strength, now we're just looking at strength. The biggest characteristic that will get a card high on this list is their overall ability. So if they're good in multiple areas and they add value in different elements of the court and in your strategy, those cards will rank higher. So there will be cards on this list that are just good at one thing, but they will rank lower because of that. And even if they're 1k and another card's 30k, the value is irrelevant. As long as they're under 30k as a total, they'll make this list, and their price within that won't make any difference. So we're just going to look at the strongest card. So whether you're an absolute no money spent player where you won't spend over 5k on a player, or you're a no money spent player where you will pick up cards for 25, 30k, there'll be cards on this list for all of you. So I also want to add how I test these cards. So I do pick up every card that I review. So there might be some other cards in the game that I haven't used, but I try to use every card that looks like a good budget card. And I use all of those cards on Superstar Domination. The reason I use them on that mode, partly is because I'm just playing that at the moment. But we also all know Unlimited is on All-Star. You don't want to be testing these cards out on Pro or All-Star, because we know, especially when it comes to shooting, the difference between All-Star and Superstar this year is the difference between Rookie and Hall of Fame last year. So that's how we test them. That's how we rank them. Let's get into the cards. Number 10. Now, at number 10, we've got Tyson Chandler. And he's a good example of a card that could be higher on this list if he could do more than one thing. Tyson Chandler can do one thing, but look at his price. He's 3k. He's good. So we're going to mix it up. I'm not going to start breaking down the cards as I did before, where I'm going to talk about all their badges and everything. I will touch on a few different things, but I am actually going to focus on how I found the card to use more. So the card is good at defense. Post defense, that's it. He's so good at it that he makes this list. So I don't want to understate it, but that's all he's good at. He's got all the badges that you would want. Gold Heart Crusher being really important, Rim Protector, etc. He's just a good defensive card. And the reason is just his player build. He's massive. He's 7'1", and he's got this huge player build. He's very similar to PJ Brown in terms of the player build. And another reason he wouldn't score higher is because PJ Brown is free. And I think PJ Brown is a little bit more well-rounded than Tyson Chandler. I think Tyson might be a better defender, but PJ is probably very, very close. But he's a much better offensive card. And he's free. And he's an Amethyst reward. So Tyson, really, it's just that. He's a card that you want to pick up if you're using a starter team. If you're brand new, it's a good card to pick up. Like I told you about similar cards, there are other cards out there for free, but if you're not at that point in token rewards yet, he's a good alternative. I think if you're deeper into the game, if you're probably a month or two in, I think this card is not going to have any value to you. But for a starter team, Tyson Chandler works. He's a good centre, and he will defend the paint really well. So at number 9, we've got Eric Gordon. And similar to Tyson Chandler, again, he's really good at one thing. Offensively, he's just an amazing card, and predominantly because of his shooting. He is a lights out shooter. If you look at his badges, he's got all the shooting badges you'd need. And he's also got 93 3-point shot. He is quick as well, which helps. So he's not, it's not one-dimensional in terms of the offense. Like, he's got good speed as well. I think he's got quick first step as well. So he can do a bit on the offensive side. The problem is with this card is defensively he's just a liability. I mean, he really, really is. If you come up against, it doesn't matter where you're running him, but you're running him at shoot guard. If he comes up against a decent offensive shooting guard, he's going to get blown out for that entire game. But you can add badges to him, and if I took that into account, he would probably rank higher because you could badge him out and make him a better player. But I just want to take the cards at face value, and at face value, he's just a really good shooter. If you're going to use him, you need to surround him with defensive players, and some of those players are coming up later in the video. So there is a scenario where you could sort of change the matchups to make Eric Gordon less of a liability defensively. But if you're a shooter in this game, if what you like to do is to have, everything sort of 5 out and just based around shooting for the perimeter, this card is incredible. And the reason he's on this list really is he's very, very similar to Allen Houston. And Allen Houston is 40 to 50k, I think, at the moment. There's not really enough of a difference between those two cards to separate them. And Eric Gordon's 2k. So he is a good budget card. And for the right players, he's really good. If you're a defensively minded player, you don't want to pick this up. But if you're a player that just focuses on shooting, that's your key game plan in every game, then Eric Gordon is a card you can pick up for sure, and it will add value to your team. At number 8, we've got Bobby Jones. And Bobby Jones has just been released. He came out in the new packs the other day, so I did pick him up and try him out. I tried him in a all-time domination game, and similar to Tyson Chandler, very, very similar. He's all defense, but he's a better defender than Tyson Chandler, and he's a power forward, small forward. If you ran him at power forward and Tyson at centre, for about 5k, you would have an elite post-defensive, pairing. Like they are dominant. You can see from his stats here, his defensive overall is 98. That's what the card does. Look at his badges; they're basically all defensive. Gold clamps, interceptor, heart crusher, rim protector. I mean, he is a beast in the defense. Almost to the point it makes up for the fact that offensively he hasn't got a huge amount going on. Offensively, he will do nothing for you, and I do mean nothing. So if you're reliant on your power forward, I wouldn't run him at small forward. But if you're reliant on your power forward for offense, don't pick up this card. But again, he's another card, especially for the price he's at, which for a starter player, he just has so much value. When you're starting out and you really need to build a defensive post defense that can hold its ground, especially maybe against the CPU on higher difficulties. Bobby Jones and Tyson Chandler as a pairing will do that job, and they'll do it as well as any other two cards in the game. Again, the problem with these cards is offensively they're going to do nothing. So you're going to be relying on your guards really to score all of your points. So it really comes down to your strategy about whether you should pick this card up. Again, I think if you've been playing a month or so, you'll probably have a squad that will outdate Bobby Jones, so he won't have the same value. But if you're looking for a power forward who's just a lockdown defender, Bobby Jones is that guy. Now at number 7, we've got Pau Gasol. And Pau Gasol is higher on the list than the cards that came before him because it really kind of explains our new structure. He is just more well-rounded than those 3 cards. I'll be honest, I think he's overpriced for what he does, but there isn't a huge amount of sort of solid power forwards in the game. You don't want to run Pau at centre. I just literally finished using him. He is 7 foot, and he's got a good sort of balance on his badges. He's got good defensive badges and he's got good shooting badges as well. He's as a post scorer, he's good. He can hit the 3. I think it's 74 or something. His 3-point shot, yeah, he can hit that. He's a stretch 4 really, and his rebounding is good as well. I think it's in the 90s. Yeah, you go 90 and 90, so he can do a lot. His price will come down, I think. I would compare this Pau Gasol to he's very similar to the Kristaps Amethyst that they released. That Kristaps could only run at centre, which was a real shame because if he'd run at power forward, he would be an amazing card. But Pau is a slightly worse version of that Kristaps. So again, if you're kind of if your approach to this game is all about five out and shooting from the perimeter, Pau will do that job for you. You stick a shoe on him, etc. He'll be even better. But we're just going to take him at face value for now. But he did do everything. I think. He's rebound chasers there. He's got box. He's got moving truck. He has got defensive badges that help. Brick wall as well. He's actually quite a well-rounded player, and I think his price will drop. There's obviously a lot of them in the packs, which has kind of driven his price down quite a bit. But I think it will go down again. I think if he gets to around the 10k mark, he's a really, really good pickup. Again, a lack of power forwards in this game. I'm running Al Horford, who's actually a token reward. They're very similar cards. He's a diamond, Pau is an amethyst, but they are quite similar really in terms of what they do on the court. So I think Pau's a good value budget card. It'll be interesting to see what other people think about him because he's just come out. But I think he deserves a spot on this list for now, and is a very good budget pickup at power forward. So at number 6 we've got Willis Reed, and I kind of stumbled into reviewing this card, to be honest. I hadn't used it and didn't really hear anyone talking about it, but I just pulled the diamond version of him out of the token reward market and plugged him in at power forward, and he was absolutely dominant. So I was like, right, let's go check out this amethyst because I don't know if people have given this enough time really to see if it works. But one of the problems that you get with power forwards and centres in this game is if they can't shoot, people write them off immediately. And there's a lot of different approaches to this game. I know the most elite players will tend to play a shooting 4 and a shooting 5, but Let's actually look at Willis Reed because I just tried him out. I had to switch out the diamond to use the amethyst to test the amethyst version. You can see already he's very well balanced. The 89-87 sort of splits between offensive and defensive. Badges again, he's got really good badges on both ends, so he's a well-rounded card, and that's going to make him score higher on this list. He's got rim protector, intimidator, moving truck, all the strong defensive badges that you want from a post player, brick wall, etc. But he actually plays really well offensively as well. You know, he's got Lob City, put back boss, and there's a few others, I think, offensive badges, consistent finisher, contact finisher. And he moves really well. He's 6'9", run him at power forward as well. I mean, you can run him at centre, to be honest, but I would run him at power forward. Again, he doesn't have that three ball that you want. But his speed, 70-70, is actually, you know, that's quick for a power forward with his player build. Great rebounding as well, great interior defence, decent steal as well, really good block. He's just a really good sort of two-way big, and he's not going to do anything really from a shooting perspective, but in the post, he can be dominant. I think he put up 14 points in the game that I played. And, you know, I don't really run through my power forward. I was just sending him on a couple of cuts to the hoop, and he seemed to score every single time. So I think this card might have got lost in the shuffle a little bit. I think it's really underrated. It's, again, if you're a 5 out, this guy isn't for you. If you're, you know, a post player, someone who likes to attack the rim, someone who likes to use cuts and run plays, he could be really, really valuable. I think if you're struggling to find a power forward in your team, Willis Reed could be the answer. Go check him out. I think he's a better player than anyone's given him credit for. Now we break into the top 5, and at number 5 is Mitch Richmond. His price has gone through the floor, and I think quite a few of us might have made a mistake here. So I picked up Mitch Richmond shortly after he came out. He was quite cheap. And that release, I don't know if you've seen it or not, but he's got one of the funkiest releases I've ever seen. I did not like it. I sold the card really quickly and actually, quite ironically, switched him out with Houston because they are really similar cards. Looking back, Houston's got a better shot, but Mitch has a good shot, has a really good shot, but is better at everything else than Allen Houston. They patched the card. I didn't know that they patched the card, and someone posted it on our Facebook group that, you know, that this card had been patched and to give it another shot. So I did. And you know what? I loved the card. I absolutely loved it. It was, for some reason, it just felt like I just picked up an entirely new card. I've never used it before. Comparing it to Brian Winters actually is quite a good comparison because they are quite similar. And you look at his three-point shot, it's an 84, you know, Winters is an 87. I now prefer Mitch's release. It was just a much nicer shot. I think he went 3 for 4 in that game on superstar difficulty, all-time dom. Layup's good, you know, his close shot's good. Everything about him. If you look at, you know, Brian Winters, which is a diamond, look at the athleticism. I mean, he's a basically more athletic version of a diamond card. Now, his badges are all shooting badges, like all of them. But he does defend quite well. He got 3 steals in that game as well. I think this card might be a bit of a sleeping giant in this game. And for the price he's at now, he's definitely worth picking up. If you ask me now whether I'd pick up Eric Gordon, Allen Houston, or Mitch, regardless of value, I think he's the better card out of those 3. So I think a lot of people have been sleeping on him. And he's also a card I think anyone can use. I think if your key sort of strategy is defense, and mine is, my approach is defense, there are probably better cards you can pick up at shooting guard or small forward. But I think those defensive cards are not as good offensively as Mitch, and I think he's quite close defensively to those cards. So, you know, he might be one of the best sort of 2 or 3 options if you're a defensively minded player who still wants players that can, you know, can break on the other end of the court. I just completely overlooked him. I did sell him back after using him because I don't know if he's got a place in my squad right now. But 2 weeks ago, I kind of wish I knew how good the card was after the patch because it is really, really good. I mean, when we talk about his badges, we're talking about gold range extender. The guy can shoot. There's no doubt about it. I don't know why his 3-point is an 84 actually, because it's obviously better than that. It feels like it's in the 90s for sure. And the release is still weird, but it just hits. You know, I played meter on, and I was greening with him in that game. Again, sleeping giant. Mitch is a really good card, and I think he could serve a purpose for a lot of people who play this game. He's really well rounded, and yeah, top 5. Mitch Richmond. Now at number 4 we've got Michael Cooper, and I'll be honest, from 2 to 4 on this list, you could swap them around quite easily. It was really hard to just decide what order to put those 3 cards in, so I wouldn't blame you if you put Michael Cooper higher or any of the cards coming up lower. But the reason I put him at number 4 is because he is the best defensive guard in this game. There's no question about that. He has the most important badge, which is Hall of Fame clamps, and it shows. He's in my team. I run him at small forward. If you look at his other badges as well, he's got catch and shoot. You know, he's got offensive badges as well. Showtime kind of really actually sums up his offensive abilities. But, you know, he is a good card. He is a very, very good card. Defensively, like I said, best card in the game. But offensively, he gets the job done as well. I green fairly consistently with Michael Cooper. He can go off the ball at times. You know, I would say probably I shoot about 40 to 50% with him, but I can have runs where I hit green 3 or 4 shots in a row with him, and I can have runs where, you know, I'll miss 3 or 4 in a row. And he can be quite inconsistent, but I think generally speaking, looking at the cards in my team, he's one of the more consistent three-point shooters in that team. His rim run is fantastic. It's just fantastic. I think it's down to his tendencies. I actually haven't looked at them. I'm going to look at them for the first time now because I've been using the card for pretty much since it came out. He's always cutting to the basket. Always, always, always. He seems to get 5 to 6 wide open dunks in every single game, and that's from the half court. His movement is just fantastic. I'm trying to figure out exactly what it is. Right, there it is. Right, it's right at the top. So driving dunk tendency, yeah. I mean, that's it. You know, 84. That really shows you what he does offensively. So he can shoot, he can dunk, and he defends really well. The only limitation with Michael Cooper really is his movement. You know, he's not a player that will create his own shot. He will get in positions off ball to get a shot, but he won't create his own shot. You're not going to be dribbling up the court with him. You're not going to be using him as a primary ball handler. So there's a lot of things he can do. There's one thing he can't, but everything else he does very, very well. But just to remind you that the defense on this guy, if again, a lot of this comes down to the strategy you use, how you would rank these cards. But if you play man-to-man defense, which I don't, I use a hybrid zone. But if you play man-to-man, you put Michael Cooper on the opposition point guard, or whoever their best defensive threat is really, he will clamp them up. He will get steals, he's got interceptor, he's got pickpocket. He will do everything for you on the defensive end. He is the best defensive guard in this game. There's no two ways about it. 96 defensive overall sums it up. And the reason I say he could go from 4 to 2 really easily is because offensively, although it only says 80, he's really good. He's a really good offensive card, and he can do a lot of things. He can shoot the ball well, and he can run to the rim really well. One limitation, I would say this is the first card on this list that I think it doesn't really matter how you approach this game. Whether you're playing zone, whether you're playing man-to-man, whether you're 5 out, whether you prefer to run to the rim, play in the post, whatever, Michael Cooper has a place on your team. He's so perfectly well-rounded defensive card. As we move into the top 3, we've got Boris Diaw. Now, when you get this high on the list, we're not really talking about good budget cards anymore. We're just talking about good cards. Boris Diaw's price makes 0 sense to me. I know they saturated the market. I don't understand how his price is around 10k. I would pay 30 to 35k for this card happily. You know, people are paying 40, 45k for Porzingis as a comparison, right? I mean, I think Boris Diaw is the stretch 4 that we wanted Porzingis to be if he wasn't locked at centre. Why is he so cheap? What doesn't Boris Diaw do? I mean, let's break it down. He's in my team at the moment. He's backup power forward off the bench to Al Horford. Let's just break down the attributes. So he's got an 83 three-point shot. He's 6'8", and he can run at power forward. That's exactly what you want. Standing dunk, great. Pass IQ and pass accuracy, great. Perimeter defense is okay. Interior defense is good. Block is good. Again, he's power forward, not a center. We'll take 80-ish. Rebounds, good. 83, 86. Speed for a power forward, really, really good. Lateral quickness, 76. Outstanding for a power forward. You know, his mental attributes are great as well. His tendencies are good as well. I'm not going to get into them. But, you know, flashy passer for a power forward, Hall of Fame badge. Catch and shoot, corner specialist. Break starter. Break starter is a really underrated badge, by the way. To have it on your power forward who's got good rebounding is a big deal. Box, back down punisher. Needle threader, again, 6'8", power forward, playmaking like that. Brick wall, he's got dimer, he's got clamps, he's got intimidator, rebound chaser. Every badge that I would put on a card, Boris Diaw already has. He is a contender to be the best power forward in this game, certainly when it comes to a stretch 4. Now, you can say, you know, there's players like Giannis and, you know, diamond cards that have been released. I wouldn't run them over Boris with the way that I play. I need players who are well-rounded. I need players who can do everything. Giannis can't shoot. Yes, okay, he's going to attack the rim better than Boris, but I've got 4 other players to do that. To have a stretch 4 that can pop out, and we know when you run the Hawks freelance, this guy will just be sitting in the corner, usually fairly wide open for the majority of the game. I've had games with Boris where he's put up 35, 40 points, and I don't run through my power forward. That's how good he is. He's just always there, ready to score the ball. And he defends well. He's not an elite defender at power forward, but he certainly does enough. And when you balance out the offensive and defensive, it balances it out 10 times over, you know, because of his offensive abilities. So Boris Diaw is, yeah, top three budget card. Easily could have been number 2. I think, again, I'm just going to say it, 2 to 4, I think were, you know, changeable. You can mix them up however you want. Easily could have been number 2. He's a fantastic power forward. I still run him now. He's one of 3 amethysts left in my squad. Everything else is diamond or above. And, you know, I'm not in a rush to switch him out. Now at number 2, we've got Bailey Howell. And we all know that I sold Bailey Howell a couple of weeks ago, if you've seen my videos before. He was in my team for a month or so, at least. I didn't realise how good this card was until I sold it. And I sold it because I had 3 replacements on no money spent. You know, I had Brian Winters, Rolando Blackman, a few cards that I just kind of picked up for free. So I couldn't really justify keeping him anymore. But when I took him out of my team, I realised how impactful he was when I had him. Bailey Howell is ahead of the 2 other cards that came before him, which is Boris Diaw and Michael Cooper. The reason he's ahead of those is he is more well-rounded than those 2 players. He solves so many problems, Bailey Howell, in a team when you just load him into a lineup. And whether you run him at small forward or power forward, I know he's undersized at power forward, but he doesn't play like that. And I've said before, his player build makes him look bigger than 6'7" on the court. He just covers every base really, really well. Let's get into it. So badge-wise, you'll see the balance between offense and defense. And when I talk about offense and defense, I'm talking about every area, both post and perimeter. He protects the perimeter really well. He protects the post really well. Rebounds really well. He shoots the ball really well, and he finishes at the hoop really well. I mean, just look at the badges. I mean, I don't even feel like I need to walk you through breaking them down. He's got everything you need. You know, he's got Intimidator. You know? Even silver badges, he's got clamps. You know, he's got just every badge that you want. Bailey Howell has. You know, catch and shoot, amazing. Drop stepper, great. Consistent finisher, contact finisher, great. He's just really, really good in every area of the court. And you see it says 90 offense, 79 defense, but I've just shown you he's got Intimidator and clamps. He's not a 79 defensive card. I've said it before. I've given him number 1 before as well, and I said it. This card on paper makes no sense. When you use him, it's an entirely different story. He's got an 83-point shot, but that's completely cancelled out by the fact he's got T-max release. To me, it's a 99 3-point shot. You know, there isn't a better release in the game than that, and he's got it. Standing dunk, driving dunk, all of this stuff is great. Look at his rebounding, 85, 93. Good speed on the ball. He can run with the ball. Lateral quickness, good. And as I've shown you before, tendencies, he's just on another level. I said it, you know, about a previous card in Michael Cooper that he's constantly cutting to the hoop. Bailey Howell is a similar card. He's constantly getting open, and it's really reflected on his tendencies. That 88 drive tendency there you can see, but when you get to the top, 99 shot tendency, 99 alley-oop tendency. He's just a threat. He's a constant threat on the court. There's never a point where Bailey Howell is irrelevant in what's happening in the game. He's just a fantastic card. And like I said, when I sold him, it left a hole in my team. I'm really considering picking him up again because I had so much fun with this card. Number 2, Bailey Howell. And at number 1, still is Sleepy Floyd. Sleepy Floyd is a glitch in this game. I do not understand what is going on. How is he a 91 overall? I said this in the last video. I don't understand how he's a 91 overall. Someone explain this to me. He's got 33 gold badges and a Hall of Fame badge, 2 silvers and a bronze. I've used Deron Williams. I've used John Stockton. I've got Fat Lever at the moment. I've got Nate Robinson. This is... I can't sit here and tell you any of those cards are better than him. I can't do it. They might be close. I could argue that Sleepy's better. He, at 25k, I mean, last time I reviewed him, I think he was sitting at around 15k. Again, regret not picking him up and flipping him, but 94 offensive, 84 defensive. Is 84 3-point shot, but he's definitely a top 2 3-point shooter in my team. You can see Deron right next to him. I'll green with them equally consistently. There's not a huge gap in any of the other stats. He dunks really well. He's got Jordan animations, I think. I've seen him dunk from the free throw more than once. Ankle breakers everywhere. I mean, he's unstoppable on a drive. At half court, you can't stop him. He's been breaking, since they patched the ankle breakers last week, It's just embarrassing watching the CPU try and keep up with him. Perimeter defense 84, great. Better than De'Ron, right? Rebounds is not relevant really on your point guard. 89 speed, you know, across the board. 84 lateral quickness. I mean, how is he an amethyst? I just don't understand. Look at his badges. Ankle breaker, break starter, dimer, pick dodger, quick first step, tight handles, unpluckable, floor general. I mean, I can't explain it. I cannot explain it. To me, he's a contender for best point guard in the game. I know Curry's, you know, basically out now. People have got him, finally. And Curry is the best point guard in the game. But Sleepy's in the top 5, without question. Definitely an argument to put him in the top 3. I started running him at shooting guard recently, because I just can't take him out my team. I sold Isaiah Thomas, and I sold John Stockton, because I had Sleepy Floyd. I just didn't need those cards. Sleepy does everything they do, and there's a lot of those things he does better. In terms of being well-rounded, he does everything. There's nothing he doesn't do. Okay, he can't rebound or he won't protect the post, but he's at the point guard / shooting guard. He's not there to do that. In terms of everything else, he's elite. He is elite at everything else. I don't understand it. If you're going into the auction house right now to spend, I don't know, 70, 80k on Isaiah Thomas, Steve Nash, even to an extent John Stockton, before you do that, pick up Sleepy Floyd, run him at point guard, and then see if you need the other cards. I'm going to tell you now, you won't. You won't. Save your MT. Use it to build up the rest of your squad. For 25k, you're going to get one of the best point guard shooting guards in the game. It just makes no sense to me. That's all for today. That's all for this week. We're going to run this again next week. Let's see if Sleepy Floyd holds on. Until next time, thanks for watching, guys.